Hello, I'm Regina McCann-Hess, president of Forge Wealth Management, and welcome to our Women and Wealth series. Today, we're taking an educational pivot and we're going to talk about the complexities of Medicare. And let me tell you, there's no denying it. Medicare is a complicated insurance program that beneficiaries and even professionals can find challenging to navigate. It is a beast. There is a ton of information in there. And a lot of times people have to navigate this by themselves and figure it out. And it's just really challenging. So sometimes just understanding the basic features of the program can help in accessing its benefits and minimizing costly mistakes. So this Medicare chat's just here to give you an overview of key Medicare basics, as well as steps that you can take to help ensure that you receive the benefits that you're entitled to. So we're also going to try to help you understand the basics to make Medicare decisions. Like I said, it's a lot of information. We're going to do our best, but again, remember, it's educational. It does provide information on Medicare eligibility, enrollment, health and drug coverage options, and 2021 original Medicare cost. We're also going to include some useful tips to help you make coverage decisions. You also want to, if you have the opportunity to talk to somebody about this, a professional who knows a lot about Medicare, you definitely want to have that conversation with somebody and let them help you fill in some of the gaps. And just as always, this is a conversation about the topic, but it's not exhaustive. And if you have complicated questions, you can always reach out to a financial advisor like myself, or you can always call the Medicare line, which is 1-800-MEDICARE. There's also a state health insurance assistance program, and their number is 877-839-2675. Really, these people are here to help you. They'll help navigate as well as they can for you. So let's first start the conversation around Medicare eligibility. When can I get into Medicare? A lot of people are very excited, when they approach this age, they can finally get this Medicare that everybody talks about. So you're first eligible for Medicare if you meet one or more of the next couple items that I'm going to list. You're 65 or older and eligible for Social Security or railroad retirement benefits. You're 65 or older and either a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident who has lived in the U.S. continuously for 5 years before applying. You've received Social Security disability income checks for at least 24 months, or you qualify for Social Security disability income because you've just been diagnosed with ALS, which is Lou Gehrig's disease. And then lastly, you've been diagnosed with end-stage renal disease, which is also known as kidney failure. And you, your spouse, or your parent has paid Medicare taxes for a sufficient amount of time, which is, specified by the Social Security Administration. So it's important to note that if you're 65 or older, you do not have to take your Social Security or railroad retirement benefits in order to enroll in Medicare coverage. Also, if you're 65 or older and ineligible for Social Security or railroad retirement benefits, but you meet the citizen or permanent resident requirement, you may pay a premium for Medicare Part A to receive that. The amount you pay for Part A depends on you or your spouse's work history, basically how long you've paid Medicare taxes while working. Okay, so now we know how we're eligible for Medicare. How does it work? Medicare is a federal health insurance program which is available to older Americans and many individuals with disabilities regardless of their income. So there's 4 parts to Medicare. There's a Part A, a Part B, a Part C, and a Part D. So the Medicare Part A, right? That covers everything inside the hospital. It's inpatient hospital care. It's skilled nursing facility care. It's also home health care and hospice services. Okay, so those are a big part of things that Part A covers. Part B, Medicare Part B, covers the outpatient medical care. Sometimes it also includes services that you receive from licensed healthcare professionals, your outpatient hospital care, your durable medical equipment. A lot of people need medical equipment at different phases of their, lives. You also have laboratory tests that are covered under Part B, x-rays, therapy services, behavioral health services are also covered under Part B. And of course, ambulatory services are covered under Part B. So a lot of things are also covered under Part B. So there's a big difference in what is covered, but you have a Part A and you have a Part B. So Part C, that is your next part of Medicare, and that's just an alternative way to receive your Medicare benefits. And we're going to come back and talk a little bit about Part C in a couple minutes. And now you also have Part D coverage, which remember, it's our drugs, it's our outpatient prescription drugs. Part D is offered through private insurance companies. Unless you choose otherwise, you will have original Medicare and receive your Part A and B benefits directly through the federal government. But if you want prescription drug coverage with original Medicare, you typically will need to choose and join a standalone private drug plan, which is PDP for short. You'll see that on your insurance cards. Now, instead of original Medicare, you can decide to get your Medicare benefits from something called a Medicare Advantage plan, which is your Part C. And now these are Medicare private health plans. Now, each Medicare Advantage plan must provide all Part A and B services covered by original Medicare, but they can do so with different rules, costs, and restrictions that can affect how and when you receive your care. So many Medicare Advantage plans are also offer Part D prescription coverage. Okay. Now, most common types of the Medicare Advantage plans are either HMOs, which basically, you have to go to your primary care provider and he or she gives you a referral to see the specialist, right? And then the other common type is a PPO, preferred provider organization. So with the PPOs, generally, you can see your, regular doc. And if you want to go to see a specialist, you can go straight to the specialist. You don't need a referral in those cases. Now, just remember, you still have Medicare if you are enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan. It's just a different way to deliver the insurance. Medicare enrollment. So now you know what it is, how you're eligible. How do I get into it? Right? So for some people, enrollment in original Medicare is automatic and doesn't even require an application, while others must actively enroll in Medicare benefits. So if you're receiving Social Security retirement benefits or railroad retirement benefits, you should automatically be enrolled in both Medicare Part A and B when you turn 65. Now, if you're under 65 and receive Social Security disability income or railroad disability annuity, you're automatically enrolled in Medicare beginning the 25th month that you receive either of those payments. Now, if you receive Social Security disability income or the railroad disability because you have ALS, which is Lou Gehrig's disease, Medicare automatically begins the first month that your Social Security disability income or railroad disability benefits start. You do not have to wait that 24-month waiting period. You do need to actively enroll in Medicare and file an application with your Social Security or Railroad Retirement Office Board if you qualify for Social Security retirement or railroad retirement benefits, but are not receiving them when you turn 65. Also, if you do not qualify for Social Security retirement or railroad retirement benefits because of an insufficient work history, but you qualify for premium Part A. Okay. And then also you qualify for Medicare because you have been diagnosed with end-stage renal disease, kidney failure, and you, your spouse, or your parent has sufficient work history. So if you're eligible for Medicare, but not currently receiving Social Security retirement or railroad retirement benefits, there are 3 different time periods during which you can enroll in Medicare Parts A and B. Okay. 3 different periods. The first one is initial enrollment period. And this is a really nice long period. It's like 7 months and it's surrounding your 65th birthday. So it's the 3 months before your 65th birthday, the month of your 65th birthday, and then the 3 months after your 65th birthday. So you can file Medicare enrollment application with your local Social Security office at any time during your initial enrollment period. The date your Medicare coverage begins will depend on the month that you sign up. So if you enroll during the first 3 months of your initial enrollment period, coverage begins the month in which you first become eligible for Medicare. So, if I'm eligible in January, but I sign up now, it's not going to start till January. If you enroll during the 4th month of your IEP, coverage begins the month following the month of enrollment. If you enroll during the 5th month of your IEP, coverage begins the 2nd month following the month of your enrollment. And of course, if you enroll during the 6th or 7th month of your initial enrollment period, coverage begins the 3rd month following the month of enrollment. Okay, so remember, if you're under 65 and you're eligible for Medicare due to a disability, you should be enrolled in Medicare Parts A and B automatically. Your Medicare will begin on the first day of the 25th month of receiving your Social Security disability income or railroad retirement disability benefits. If you're experiencing any problems with that, with your Medicare enrollment, or have additional questions, you can always reach out to the Social Security office. Their number is 800-772-1213. Now we have the second enrollment period, and this is called the general enrollment period. So if you're eligible for Medicare, but you missed that initial period that we just spoke about, you can enroll during the general election period. And the general election period starts January 1st of every year and ends on March 31st. Now, note, if you sign up during this general election period, your coverage doesn't start till July 1st. Now, you could incur late enrollment penalties and face gaps in coverage if you sign up during the general election period. If you do not enroll in Part B when you were initially eligible and you're not eligible for the Part B special enrollment period, you may have to pay a 10% premium penalty for each 12-month you delay your enrollment. That's pretty pricey. So you really want to be careful about your enrollment periods. And in most cases, if you have to pay that penalty, it's for every month for as long as you have Medicare. Whoa, crazy stuff, right? So here's an example. If you were eligible for Part B at 65, but delayed enrollment for 5 years and then enrolled during that general election period, you would have a 50% penalty. So that is not a fun thing to have to pay. So you just really want to pay attention to that. Now you have the third time frame when you're allowed to enroll in Medicare, and that's called a special enrollment period. The special enrollment period are opportunities to enroll in Medicare outside those normal enrollment periods, but they're triggered by specific circumstances. So an example would be Part B special enrollment period lets you delay Medicare enrollment without penalty if you're covered by your employer group health plan. And that's based on either yours or your spouse's current employment. Now, you can enroll in Medicare without penalty for up to 8 months after you lose your group health plan or your spouse's health plan, whichever comes first. Now, note the other forms of insurance from your employer, like COBRA or retirement insurance, they don't qualify for that Part B special enrollment period. So you do really want to be careful. You have to stay within those guidelines if you want to use that special election period. Okay, so now those are the 3 times that you can enroll for Medicare. What does it cover? What does it cost? Oh, always a cost, right? So Medicare Parts A and B cover inpatient and outpatient services. Again, Part D covers those outpatient prescription drugs. However, Medicare doesn't cover all healthcare services. And this is something that I run into all the time when I'm talking to people. They have a misconception that it covers a lot more than it does. So an example of that would be Original Medicare does not cover routine dental services or custodial care like housekeeping, laundry, meal preparation. And the most important thing to know that it does not cover is long-term nursing home care, like 24-hour care. It does not cover that. Many people are under the misconception that it does, but it doesn't. Medicare also does not cover care outside the United States, so that's important to know. And a few other things are acupuncture, hearing aids, and most vision care it doesn't cover either. Medicare Advantage plans must cover all the services that the original Medicare covers, but they may do it a little bit differently with some different costs, some different restrictions. And some Medicare Advantage plans also offer additional benefits that original Medicare doesn't cover. But what you need to do is you have to ask the plan directly about which services are covered and get as much information as you can in writing so that you can really make an informed decision. Now let's talk about Medicare Part A. Most people get Medicare Part A for free. You are eligible for premium-free Part A if you have worked at least 40 quarters, which is 10 years of work in any job where you paid Social Security taxes in the United States. Or you're eligible for railroad retirement benefits, or you have a spouse that qualifies for premium free Part A, or you're under 65 and eligible for Medicare due to a disability, end-stage renal disease, kidney failure, or ALS, which is Lou Gehrig's disease. So those are Part A. Now, if you don't meet that criteria, you will likely pay a monthly premium for Part A. And in 2020, if you work between 7.5 and 10 years, your Part A premium is $252 a month. If you worked fewer than 7.5 years, that premium then goes to $458 per month. So now in both cases, again, you could incur a penalty for delaying your enrollment. So pay attention to those enrollment period timeframes. Okay, let's shift to Part B, Medicare Part B. Most people do pay a monthly premium for Medicare Part B. In 2020, the standard Part B premium is $144.60 per month. Now, remember, if you delayed Part B enrollment and you are not eligible for that special enrollment period, you may have to pay an additional monthly penalty. You may pay an amount in addition to your Part B premium if your income is above a certain level as well. So if you're single and your annual income is above $87,000, you're paying more for a Part B premium. If you're married with joint annual income above $174,000, you're paying more for your Part B premium each month. So in addition to that, original Medicare covers most Part B services at 80% of the Medicare approved amount. So you're responsible for the remaining 20% of that cost of the covered services if you see a participating provider. Now, this 20% is called a coinsurance. And I think we're kind of used to that conversation and that terminology. But for an example, if the Medicare approved amount for the doctor's visit is $100, original Medicare is going to pay the doctor $80, and you're going to have to pay a $20 coinsurance. Now, if you have original Medicare, make sure to see participating providers whenever possible, because participating providers accept the Medicare approved amount as payment in full. Doctors who do not take assignment can charge you up to 15% more than Medicare's approved amount for covered services. Now, while most doctors do accept Medicare, some providers called opt-out providers do not accept Medicare at all. So opt-out providers can charge whatever they want for services, but they must also follow some certain rules to do so. But then you're responsible for that entire cost of care if you see an opt-out provider. So you just want to be very, very careful of that before you go see a new provider. You just want to check on the list and see if they're within your plan or if they're an opt-out provider, and then really decide whether or not you want to see that particular provider. Another thing, you can also purchase a supplemental plan called a medigap plan to pay for the costs associated with original Medicare. Now, medigap plans work only with original Medicare. They don't work with Medicare Advantage plans. So you do have to be aware of that. They're like separate entities. The Medicare Advantage plans usually charge a standardized copayment for doctor's visits and some other services covered under Part B. And many plans cover services only if you receive them from doctors, hospitals, and pharmacies that are in their plan network. So, you have to, again, be careful. Check the doctors, check the pharmacies, check the hospitals. Are they within your plan network? Because that could elevate your costs or increase your costs if you're going out of network. So you just definitely want to be careful of that. Just a little side note, if you do have limited income and savings, you may qualify for a Medicare savings program. That would also help pay your Medicare costs. And at a minimum, a Medicare savings program pays for your Part B premium, and it also eliminates some enrollment penalties, but you do have to qualify for that. All right, Medicare Part D are outpatient prescription drugs. Now, this coverage is available only through Medicare private drug plans, either as a standalone plan for those enrolled in original Medicare, or as a set of benefits included with a Medicare Advantage plan. So again, unless you have credible coverage, which we'll talk again about, you should enroll in Part D when you first get Medicare. If you delay enrollment, you may face gaps in coverage and enrollment penalties. So credible drug coverage is basically, on average, as good as or better than the basic Part D benefit. And if you're considering delaying your Part D enrollment because you already have a prescription drug coverage, you want to make sure to find out if your coverage is considered credible, because maintaining enrollment in credible drug coverage means you will not incur that penalty if you decide to enroll in Part D at a later date. Okay. In addition to that, you have a 2-month special enrollment period to enroll in a Part D plan. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you receive a notice from your employer or your plan each year informing you if your drug coverage is credible. And if you have any questions about that, you call your HR department, because they know whether or not that plan is credible. And if they don't know it off the top of their head, they can check on that and get back to you. Okay, because that's really, really important. If you have a retiree or a union drug coverage, enrolling in Part D could cause you or your family members to lose access to that coverage. So before enrolling in Part D, you want to contact your former employer or your union benefit administrator to ask how the plan coordinates with Medicare. And if you do not enroll in Part D when you're first eligible, and you do not qualify for one of those special election programs, you may also enroll in Part D coverage during that fall enrollment period, that fall open enrollment period. And that fall open enrollment period occurs each month from October 15th through December 7th. Okay. Now, you may have a late enrollment penalty if you use that fall enrollment period to enroll in Part D for the first time, because each Part D plan has a formulary, which is a list of covered drugs. It has different costs and it has coverage rules and a network of pharmacies, often including both preferred and non-preferred pharmacies. So before enrolling in or changing your drug coverage, you want to contact the plan that you're considering and make sure it fits your needs. Find out whether your prescriptions are on the plan's formulary, if your pharmacies are in their network, and other key details. Very important that you get as much of this information as in writing, because Part D costs can vary plan by plan, and these plans often charge a monthly premium as well. So the national average Part D plan premium in 2020 is about $32.74 a plan. Now, as with Part D, you may pay an amount in addition to your Part D premium if your income is above that certain level. And again, that certain level is if you're single, your income's above $87,000. And if you're married with joint income, with income above $174,000, you may wind up paying more for your Part D each month. Now, again, if you have limited income and savings, you may qualify for some extra help, a federal assistance program that helps pay for some to make the most out-of-pocket costs of Medicare prescription drug coverage. So that can actually be really helpful for some people. Before we leave today, I want to talk about Medicare appeals. If Medicare denies your coverage for a service or a medicine that you need, you can file an appeal to challenge that denial. And I will tell you, it's also a good idea to ask your provider for assistance to help you start that appeal. In many cases, they're familiar with the process and the forms, and many times can help you through that process. There are also some additional resources that you can go to and find out some more information. Like I said, this is informational, educational, but we can't hit everything because it's a very deep topic. But you can go visit a couple websites. One of the first websites I would recommend is medicare.gov, really full of great information there. And then the other one is medicareinteractive.org. The third one is shiptacenter.org, SHIPTA center.org. Really good resources for you. And with that, I want to thank you for joining me today. I appreciate you tuning back in week after week. Again, I'm Regina McCann-Hess, president of Forge Wealth Management. I am here weekly, hopefully, to give you tidbits of information. You can find me on social media at Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Forge Wealth. On LinkedIn, I'm Regina McCann-Hess, and my website, of course, is forgewealth.com. Thank you and have a great day.